Hello and welcome to Conversations with Elise Quevedo. Today, we continue to discuss technology with an individual who has a passion for what he does. I am talking about Edwin Diender, Chief Innovation Officer of the Global Energy Business Unit at Huawei's Enterprise Business Group. Hey, Edwin, it's been a while. How are you?
It has been a while, yes, but thanks again for having me, or thanks for having me again is what I should say. I'm doing well, thank you. And I hope you're doing well as well.
Yes, absolutely. After this summer, I'm getting ready technically for the last quarter of the year. I think this was definitely overdue. It's been a few months. And just like we spoke a few months ago, Edwin, the energy sector has been an early adopter of digital technologies, and digital transformation is still a paramount ingredient in the energy industry. And you recently wrote a blog which was titled, "What is the Energyverse and why does it matter?" And I would love to expand on your thoughts on that, or based on that blog, because you mentioned that the Energyverse lends itself to the notion that the energy sector must evolve to meet current and future needs. But first of all, let's talk about the challenges that the Energyverse faces. Can you talk to us about that?
Well, to rephrase a little bit, the challenges do not so much sit with the Energyverse itself. There are many challenges in every industry, and the energy industry, of course, has its own challenges. What I truly believe and what I'm a strong advocate for is that there is a capability of the power grid that is already subject to change. The informatization or the digitization of the power grid is already ongoing. There is many digital or digitization initiatives, the digital journey of the energy industry itself, for example. But looking at some of those challenges, converting or transforming the conventional grid, not towards a smart grid, but via smart grid and intelligent connectivity into what I foresee and what I envision is a world wide web of energy, is an energy internet or an internet of energy, or what I call it, the Energyverse. Along the lines of that thought process and envisioning that, you can imagine how and where and in what way specific challenges and different challenges are being supported by digital technologies, and where digital technologies allow these changes to be accelerated and move higher up the value chain. A couple of examples are already quite clear. Digital technology is helping reduce the time that is wasted with physical operations. The support that human manpower or that manpower can get by digital tooling is already reducing time wasters, getting rid of time wasters. And that means the teams themselves become more productive, become more efficient in their operations. The accuracy that comes along with using digital technology alongside, let's say, human interpretation or manual labor interpretation of information that's being gathered, or maybe that's looked upon by eyesight. For example, power line inspections, where people need to climb up high towers, which has high voltage power lines. If anything goes wrong in that safety and security mechanism, you can imagine the risk already from a physical point of view. But if you're supporting these maintenance teams and these people with predictive and preparation where digital technology is being used, then number one, time is not being wasted. Number two, efficiency is higher up. And number three, the information that is being gathered to understand what needs to be done is faster available with a higher level of accuracy. And you could say that makes them more efficient. For the power company, it is even more interesting if you think that your costs go down. Because when your costs go down, you become more profitable. And profitability is, of course, a key driver in the current economic stage of all industries. So there's a number of examples that you could say that it's not so much the challenges within the Energyverse or the Energyverse are at stake. In the industry, there are many challenges. Digitization and digital technologies can help overcome them. And as such, it relates to this digital journey that goes from a conventional power grid and via smart grid and intelligent connectivity, has the potential to move into a, well, a World Wide Web of Energy or an Internet of Energy, or the Energyverse then, as I call it. I hope that explains it a bit.
Absolutely, Edwin. And you're absolutely right. It doesn't matter the industry. There are always going to be challenges in general. And based on what you just shared, then let's focus on some of these solutions to these so-called challenges. Because on your blog, for example, you speak about 3 drivers of the energy sector. So let's dig deeper into what you wrote on that area.
Sure. Well, if you think of the digital transformation principle as a journey, then it is a digital journey. So what drives that journey is certainly an engine, if you like, and there are different gears in such engines. So if you would consider what the following as 3 gears of the same engine, then you can perhaps imagine that the first one in this domain sits with energy transition. The transition of energy towards green energy, which can be characterized by the acceleration and the usage of solar and wind, and hydro and that sort of thing. So the first gear of that engine that drives it is the energy transition itself. The second one, of course, is another driver, which is more global, which is wider, and which is the carbon neutrality component, which is driven by a global momentum to reduce carbon emissions. So the first gear being energy transition, the second gear of that engine that drives this digital journey is carbon neutrality. And the third one itself, of course, is the principle of digital transformation in the energy sector, which, for example, can bring together digital and power electronic technologies where AI, cloud, and big data are truly able to help customers implement simple and efficient operations and improve their maintenance services while providing clean and stable power supplies. To me, these are, as I said, 3 gears of the same engine that, of course, eventually will drive us to a greener and sustainable future, which is where an Energyverse is maybe the foundation for, or the baseline for.
That makes absolutely sense. And this brings me now to collaboration, because now we are hearing a lot of the energy talk around digital platforms. The world wants to go green. They want to be better because, of course, we've messed up our planet a little bit, hence why energy is so important. But when we talk about collaboration, we're talking that companies need to collaborate together with governments. We need individuals to understand this sector better. That's why we're having these conversations. So what can you tell me, Edwin, about what role do companies such as Huawei, for example, play in this energy transformation?
Well, I think the first and foremost one, which is the most important for every company in any domain, is to be very aware of energy, energy transition, energy usage, energy consumption, being aware of your carbon footprint, applying different systems and services, not only from a business continuity management point of view, but also from an energy transition, carbon neutrality, and net zero kind of principles in the daily operations of all our of everything we do, from manufacturing to distribution, logistics, packaging, circular economy, and those kind of things. But that goes very general. Each organization themselves perhaps also have a role to play when it comes to their delivery, or when it comes to their implementation, or when it comes to them advocating on these kind of parts. If you look at the energy transition itself, and if you look at where we are as an organization, we see ourselves as a technological innovator kind of, or critical enabler that is able to promote clean, low carbon, and safe and efficient and modern energy systems, not from a promotion point of view, but also from digitized and digital and innovative ICT enabled technologies that will help enable that or create it. Of course, part of that is our successful platform and ecosystem strategy. Our digital platform comes along and goes along with an ecosystem, not only from a strategy point of view, but also from an eco-partners point of view. If in the value chain we need to find certain partners, then some of the stakeholders within that value chain perhaps already have it. That means we can leverage and reuse. It enables us basically to seize opportunities faster and better and higher up the value chain. We see ourselves as a technology provider and innovator. We see ourselves as a thought leader in many different cases. We also see ourselves as an organization that is able to bridge the gap between the different people that are maybe behind when it comes to lack of knowledge, where maybe digital technology goes faster than physical capabilities, or where the power of digital, which is very common and very embraced already in many different industries, might not be very high up in the thought process or in the availability in a non-digital native industry like the energy industry itself, like the power company or oil and gas sites and what have you. So there is a lot of things to do. There's a lot of things that go along where collaboration itself, where technology advancements, and where digital innovation are a key and critical enabler to promote all of this. And within the middle is where Huawei positions itself, and where also I see myself right in the middle of things, overlooking, sharing, implementing, providing, and as I said several times, moving higher up the value chain in a shorter time frame, because the reason for doing that means that we are able to achieve the carbon neutrality goals faster, which means we are achieving our KPIs faster, which means we do better what we already do best, faster.
Exactly. And following up on what you just said, because again, we're talking, for me, as you know, I love collaboration. I always believe that there isn't a single player that can achieve anything if you don't partner up with more people. You've just mentioned how potentially the lack of knowledge is actually one of the challenges, but what do we need so that in this sector or even in others, there are more collaborations? What is needed so that energy is taken more seriously? Are we then talking about just education that people don't know? And I'm not talking about having more World Economic Forum forums. I'm talking about the real players, the CEOs, the C-level people that take the decisions, the decision makers that actually say, yes, let's now bring in partners to take energy to the next level. What is really needed for them, not to get more knowledge alone, but to take action?
Well, you know, action certainly speaks louder than words, that's for sure. In our case, we've taken a number of actions which we advocate and which we advertise widely, I would say, and all across the board. There's many learning points to take from that, because we're very much in the sharing and the open and transparency of that. The digital world, you know, already is blurring lines between digital and physical, and it brings up both the challenges but as well the opportunities for the energy industry. One of the things that we would advocate is to apply innovative technologies that are able to redefine the relationship between productivity and production, which is a stage in energy transition and energy distribution. And as such, the energy industry, of course, then needs to actively embrace the digital innovation that really helps them to do better what they already do best. With digital technology, they can create, in a much shorter time frame, far more insights as to how things are going today and what kind of improvements can be made in order to, for example, reduce the carbon footprint. And that brings me then to the carbon neutrality goal. We need to reverse rapid growth of energy consumption and CO2 emissions and decouple economic growth from carbon emissions. Becoming low carbon and electrified, if you like, and intelligent really is the only way to achieve carbon neutrality faster. And technology advances are just an engine that are able to drive that process. Last but not least, you know, we talk a lot of times about platforms which are the foundation of so many things. So technically speaking, this digital foundation is a core or a baseline for the transition to green and smart energy uses. And it's already there. And nations that, for example, are deploying 5G infrastructures already create a much greener, a lesser creating carbon footprint. So in fact, a better and a greener and a more energy aware infrastructure that already builds a solid foundation for an intelligent power sector. Many advancements in this particular case, but particularly as an industry, embrace digital information to do better what we already do best is a core starting point. And we're on the right track.
Thank you, Edwin. Absolutely. And as an experienced person, not just on this sector, but because you yourself are a C-level individual that has so much travel experience with so many different nationalities, what would you advise for any C-level decision maker that is listening to this call today, not just from a Huawei perspective, but yourself with your experience? What is the first thing that somebody should do if they want to do more in energy and they're just, I would say, stuck or they're not sure? What would you say to them right now?
I would reach out. I would make myself available. Talk to us, talk to me, not about us and not about me, but about what can we do together, or where can we find answers to the questions that we're looking for. It doesn't necessarily have to be an answer that I provide or an answer that the company that I work for puts at the table. And that sits with the earlier comment that you made regarding collaboration and sharing information across teams and departments in a much more efficient way, also across industries. Our flagship event, Huawei Connect 2022, is not being organized on mainland China in Shanghai as previous years, but we're picking it up and we're bringing it into global theaters. We're going to the Middle East, we're going to Europe, Latin America, but the first one where we start from is the week after next week, September 19 to 21, out of the heart of Southeast Asia, which is in Bangkok. There is online and offline and remote and on-site and off-site and physical sessions where you can either join it, you can subscribe to it, you can register for that, you can join us online, you can follow us, and you can find all kinds of speakers out of the industry and experts out of the industry that are advocating and that are being an ambassador for all these opportunities in their knowledge sharing. And mind you, again, this is not just Huawei experts or Huawei technology people sharing their great innovative work, but this is an open platform where stakeholders throughout the industry and any industry combined are looking into different pieces of a greener future. And one of them, of course, sits with energy and energy transition and carbon neutrality, but others sit with public utilities, sits with government services, sits with regulations and regulators, sits with NGOs, sits with education, sits with transportation, manufacturing. In other words, throughout the value chain of every industry is what this flagship event right now is about. And everyone is invited to join that.
Thank you so much, Edwin, because examples such as Huawei Connect, in this case, the first one being Bangkok, this is what brings the industry together. If you are unsure, connect with other peers, and you don't have to be there in person. I myself will be attending, not in person, but remotely, because this is a hybrid event where you don't have to physically be there. But if you are in the region, definitely then go and attend in person, because these events are amazing. And if you want to connect with Edwin, as an example, there will be a link below in the description of this video. I always share his either Twitter handle, his LinkedIn, and of course you can go to his corporate website. But talk to people. Edwin is definitely very approachable, but there are many other C-level individuals. And the first thing you need to do is connect and then ask. I think the one thing that we've learned since we are very little is that no question is ever silly. No question goes unfounded, and never feel like you're not experienced enough to ask someone in a higher position about a topic that I believe is extremely important, because the energy drives economies and sustains society. The energy sector is growing, and I personally look forward to continue learning from people such as Edwin Diender about the impact that it has in our society, and not just the energy sector, but technology in general. How incredibly and how lucky are we that it's helping us in society nowadays, and not just in the first world, but third world countries, rural areas, and truly what matters today. So as always, Edwin, thank you so much for your time. Is there any lasting words that you would like to tell the audience today in regards to the Energyverse?
Yeah, I would say the future is green, so let's go greener. How's that for a statement to close it?
I absolutely love it. Simple, short, and powerful. This is Elise Quevedo. Until next time, thank you, Edwin.
Thank you too.